To start off his quest for a third consecutive Formula One championship, Max Verstappen sailed to a calm victory. On the form shown in Bahrain, there's no one looking like stopping him. When the team unlocked its setup for Saturday, he was completely in charge. The Red Bull Honda was by far the fastest car in the field, and both of its drivers were able to use the soft tyre for 2 of the 3 stints, unlike any other top 10 starters. Sergio Perez supported Max Verstappen to achieve the ideal team result. But he had a busier race than Verstappen due to Charles Leclerc's Ferrari out-accelerating him off the line on its new tyres, despite Perez's best efforts to keep it in the rear. But even a brilliantly driven Ferrari by Leclerc was unable to overcome the second Red Bull. Perez was able to pass on the track early in the second stint and pull away comfortably by using a longer stint than the Ferrari could manage and switching to another set of soft tyres after Leclerc was forced to fit hards. And that's even before the Scuderia's alarming power unit failure, which forced it to come to a stop. This raises the further question of whether we are in for an even more extreme season of Red Bull dominance than last year. However, before you assume that it's all over, there's good evidence Bahrain could end up being at the far end in terms of the gaps at the front. In fact, the Ferrari wasn't actually the second fastest car in the race. That was the Aston Martin, in which Fernando Alonso scored a fairy tale podium on his debut for the team. Throughout the race, the Spaniard was able to pass Carlos Sainz's Ferrari, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton simply on the basis of speed. And in the brazen Alonso fashion that is characteristic of a 2-time world champion. He finished behind Verstappen by more than a minute, but it would have been less if the race had been less complicated, say if he hadn't been struck by teammate Lance Stroll at turn 4 on the first lap. Indeed, after the race, Verstappen was somewhat downplaying the importance of his dominance, and his justification makes sense. This is a track where the one-lap performance compared to the race is very different in terms of the balance requirement, he said. So even though I was unhappy with a one-lap performance on Friday, for example, the long runs were still okay. Happy that it worked out with a big advantage. But yeah, time will tell. The Sakhir track forces you to preserve the rear tyres at all costs, resulting in a less than ideal understeery balance over a single lap. However, the Red Bull is less harmed than the others by this conflict of demands due to its excellent downforce distribution throughout the speed range. The extent of the Red Bull's advantage should logically diminish at tracks where that conflict is not as significant. Despite having a higher peak downforce, the Red Bull of last year was very challenging for Ferrari to race against due to its excellent aero efficiency. Ferrari has therefore prioritized increasing straight-line speed this year, even at the expense of some downforce. However, without the Red Bull's aero efficiency, matching its straight-line speed this year would have required more downforce than Bahrain could comfortably tolerate. The Ferrari became a heavy user of its rear tyres as a result, which is a severe punishment because Bahrain already imposes such a high tyre degradation premium. The Ferrari wasn't presented in its best light by Sakhir. Theoretically, it should be nearer at more typical tracks. The problem is we've only got one data set, which is at this track, said Christian Horner, of whether his Red Bull team's advantage in Bahrain will be representative. So we're not taking anything for granted. Jeddah in 2 weeks, Melbourne after that. Once we've got 2 or 3 circuits under our belt, we will get a much better picture of the strengths and weaknesses of our car and our opposition. Leclerc, on the other hand, made a comment regarding the distinction between the gap at race pace and quali pace. Red Bull seems to have found something really big in the race pace, he said. In terms of quali pace, they're actually pretty similar to us, so at least we managed to extract the lap time. But then we come to the race, and we are a second every lap off the pace, which is huge. So we really need to work on that, plus the reliability. Mercedes is in worse shape than that. Since it even lacked more high-speed downforce than the Ferrari, its rear tyres suffered as a result. It isn't all that quick over a single lap either, almost 0.35 seconds slower than Leclerc on Saturday, and a greater percentage off Verstappen's pole position than even the previous season. Hamilton pulled a performance out of the W14, beating Russell off the line, passing Alonso into turn 4 on the opening lap and putting Sainz 4th place under some pressure in the late stages. However, he lagged the winner by more than 50 seconds at the checkered flag. Its lower downforce rear wing may have caused its tyre degradation to suffer even more, but without it, the car would have certainly qualified even slower. The Sakir contrast of demands rears its ugly head once more. Despite the delay brought on by the positions he dropped after colliding with Alonso, Stroll passed Russell along the way and caught Hamilton to move up to 6th. That's where the Mercedes is at relative to the identically powered and rear-suspended Aston Martin. By the end of the race, Russell was in close proximity to the Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas and the Alpine of Pierre Gasly, who both started further back. Even Alex Albon, who was driving a superb race for Williams as he finished in 10th, wasn't far behind. Toto Wolff was pulling no punches afterwards in acknowledging Mercedes has followed the wrong direction with the car. In order to catch up, you need to make big steps, not the conventional ones by adding a few points every week, because everyone else will be doing that. The starting base is very different from where we are today. We have lost a year in development, and in order to have a steeper development curve, you just need to take these decisions. Aston Martin took that decision, and they came back strong. If we start from our base, maybe we can come back strong and chase the Red Bulls. Well, that's the ambition. Yes, everyone appeared to be feeling upbeat and hopeful after watching Aston Martin's performance. The car was much better on its tyres than the Ferrari or Mercedes, and it was undoubtedly the second fastest in the race. But it is still no Red Bull. It missed the pole by 0.628 seconds during qualifying, and its straight-line speed was not a match to any of the other frontrunners. But the way it punches itself out of corners and how it looks after its rear tyres suggests it has a lot of downforce. Alonso later confirmed that because of his lack of straight-line speed, he was unable to pass at the usual locations at turns 1 and 4. He had to think outside the box, and his pass into turn 10 on Hamilton and turn 11 on Sainz caught both of them completely off guard. Turn 10 and turn 11, where I passed Carlos and Lewis, are not the normal places, and we had to make some moves and change trajectory, Alonso added. We need to improve that straight line because we'd like to be able to pass in turns 1 and 4 like everyone else. Alonso was impressive, but the fact that the Aston Martin still had more rear tyre left than the Ferraris or Mercedes tells its own story. One that suggests that just like the Red Bull, the extreme conflicts presented by the Sakir circuit exaggerated their gains. I think we're strong in things which maybe we don't find in Jeddah or Australia, Alonso confirmed. But if we are strong in those races, then I think we will have a very good 2023. It would be fantastic to imagine an energized Alonso challenging the legendary Verstappen and Red Bull in upcoming races this season. Even better if the gaps close as F1 moves to new venues and a true four-way race for the championship gets underway. It sounds like a stretch, and we can admit that it is, but wouldn't that be very lovely? Let us know what you think. Will Red Bull's dominant performance in Bahrain set the tone for the rest of the season? Does Fernando Alonso have what it takes to battle it out for the title against Max Verstappen? Please let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. Be sure to click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.